July 2015. 3 billion miles from home, humanity's fastest spacecraft turns its camera back toward a world it has just passed. And it photographs something nobody expected. Rings of blue light, glowing around a planet that was supposed to be dead. Pluto had a sky, layer upon layer of blue haze, floating above a frozen wilderness at the edge of everything. But hidden inside that beautiful photo were two problems. Two numbers so wrong, they broke every model of Pluto we had. For 10 years, nobody could explain them. Then, the most powerful telescope ever built turned toward the smallest planet we've ever visited. And James Webb saw something New Horizons never could. Something that changes how we think about atmospheres everywhere. This is the story of a sky that shouldn't exist, and the invisible glow that finally explained it. To understand what Webb found, you have to go back to the fastest launch in human history. January 2006. New Horizons leaves Earth at 36,000 miles per hour, faster than any machine we had ever launched. It crosses the orbit of the Moon in just 9 hours. Apollo needed 3 days, and then it flies. For 9.5 years, 3 billion miles of darkness. On July 14, 2015, it finally races past Pluto at more than 30,000 miles per hour. There is no slowing down, no second pass. The entire close encounter is over in less than 30 minutes. And what came back stunned everyone. Mountains of water ice, hard as granite, rising 11,000 feet. A glacier of frozen nitrogen the size of Texas, with 0 craters. A surface younger than the human species. A giant heart, drawn across a world where sunlight is 1,000 times weaker than on Earth. And when the spacecraft looked back toward the sun, those impossible blue rings. More than 20 layers of haze stacked 200 kilometers high. Aboard the probe rode the ashes of Clyde Tombaugh, the farm boy who discovered Pluto in 1930. He flew past his own planet. But inside the data, two numbers refused to make sense. The first, Pluto's upper atmosphere measured -203 degrees Celsius. Every model said it should be 30 degrees warmer. 30 degrees is not a rounding error. It's like predicting summer in Madrid and measuring a Siberian winter. The second number was stranger. Pluto's air was escaping into space, thousands of times slower than predicted. Something was refrigerating an entire atmosphere and throttling its leak into space. And nothing in the physics of gases could explain it. Scientists tried everything. One idea required impossible amounts of water vapor. The equations simply refused to close. The coldest known atmosphere in the solar system was cold for no known reason. Then, in 2017, a scientist in California proposed something his colleagues called a crazy idea. Shi Zhang at UC Santa Cruz looked at the one thing everyone else treated as decoration: the haze itself. What if those blue layers weren't just pretty? What if the smog was the thermostat? His math said each haze particle absorbs sunlight, warms up, then radiates that heat away into space as infrared light. Billions of tiny radiators floating in the sky, cooling an entire planet like no gas ever could. On every other world we know, gases control the temperature of the air. On Pluto, Zhang claimed, solid particles run the show. The first planetary body we know of, where dust, not gas, commands the climate. And his theory made one hard prediction. If the haze really radiates heat, Pluto must glow in mid-infrared light, brilliantly. There was just one problem. Nothing on Earth or above it could see that glow. New Horizons carried 7 instruments. Not one of them could detect mid-infrared heat. It flew straight through the answer, blind to it. From Earth, Pluto and its moon Charon sit so close together that every telescope saw only one blurred point of warmth. Spitzer tried. Herschel tried. The two worlds could not be told apart. The prediction sat untested for years. Only one machine could settle it, a telescope with mirrors of gold, floating 1,000,000 miles from Earth. The James Webb Space Telescope sees exactly the light Zhang needed, the mid-infrared, the heat glow of the universe. In 2022, Webb locked onto Pluto, 3 billion miles away, and did what no observatory had ever done. It split Pluto and Charon into 2 separate points of heat and watched them through a full rotation. More than 6 Earth days. Astronomers led by Tanguy Bertrand at the Paris Observatory tracked Pluto's warmth at 3 invisible wavelengths, hour after hour. If the atmosphere behaved normally, the readings would stay quiet, just the faint murmur of frozen ground. Instead, Pluto was glowing, far brighter in the mid-infrared than a world of ice had any right to be. It was the haze, 200 kilometers of smog radiating heat into space, exactly as predicted 8 years earlier. The measurement closed the case, minus 203 degrees with the haze, minus 173 without it. The smog is the refrigerator, and a cold atmosphere leaks slowly. One measurement, both mysteries, solved. In the words of the study's lead author, "This is unique in the solar system. It's a new kind of climate." Webb's spectrum revealed the sky's chemistry too: ethane, acetylene, complex carbon molecules, a photochemical factory running at 40 degrees above absolute zero. Zhang's crazy idea had become textbook physics in just 8 years. In planetary science, he said, that almost never happens. But Webb wasn't finished with the Pluto system. It turned to Charon, a moon so big that Pluto wobbles around it. New Horizons instruments stopped at short infrared wavelengths. Webb's spectrograph reached past them, into territory no one had ever seen. And there, in 2024, scientists found 2 chemicals hiding in plain sight: carbon dioxide and hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide, the antiseptic in your medicine cabinet. Forming on a frozen moon 3 billion miles from any pharmacy. It's a chemical fingerprint. It only forms when radiation tears water ice apart, molecule by molecule. Which means Charon's surface is not frozen in time. It's being chemically rewritten right now by sunlight and cosmic rays. And Charon holds one more secret. Its North Pole is stained blood red. The leading explanation? That stain is Pluto's doing. Methane escapes Pluto's atmosphere, drifts across the gap, and freezes onto Charon's pole. Radiation cooks it red. One world is literally spray painting another. Nowhere else in the solar system does this happen. Step back, and Pluto stops being an oddity and becomes a key. Saturn's moon Titan wears a haze so thick it chills the ground beneath an orange sky. Neptune's moon Triton wears a thinner veil. But Pluto is the extreme case. The only known world where haze doesn't just tint the sky, it commands the entire energy budget. Now scientists are re-examining Titan and Triton, asking if we've misjudged how their atmospheres work too. And there's a bigger mirror here. Before oxygen, before life as we know it, Earth itself may have been a hazy world. 3 billion years ago, our sky was likely orange, an organic smog shielding the young planet like sunscreen, cutting deadly UV by 97%. To study Pluto's haze is to look at a frozen photograph of early Earth. The haze even snows. Particle by particle, it settles over billions of years, burying Pluto's dark plains under meters of organic dust. And Webb has found something else. In 2026, astronomers reported a mystery signature on Pluto's surface, something absorbing light at exactly 5.11 microns. They've checked it against every ice in the laboratory. Nothing matches. Something is coating both Pluto and Titan, and we don't know what it is. Meanwhile, the clock is running. Pluto is drifting away from the sun, already 400 million kilometers farther than the day New Horizons flew past. Some models predicted its atmosphere would collapse, freezing out entirely as the long winter closes in. So far, the air is holding, but forecasts say it will slowly thin for the next 2 centuries, snowing back onto the ice. For decades, we asked whether other Earths existed. Then we found them by the thousand and asked if any had kept their air. Now we know. At least one did. A world that held its breath for 3 billion years, waiting for someone to notice. A world where the sky refrigerates the planet, where smog falls as snow, where a moon is painted by its neighbors' escaping air. The blue rings are still glowing out there, 3 billion miles away. In a darkness we've only just learned to read.